You're listening to the Everything Jewish 10 Minutes at a Time podcast, where you'll learn about every Jewish topic imaginable in about 10 minutes. Before we get rolling, quick confession. My Hebrew pronunciation isn't exactly Grammy-worthy. In fact, since this is an AI-generated voice, sometimes Divrei Hayamim, that's Hebrew for Chronicles, might come out sounding like I'm ordering dim sum. So please forgive the accent, and if I botch it, just imagine your favorite bubby correcting me. Today's topic is the Book of Chronicles, or, as I like to call it, the Bible's ultimate recap episode. You know those TV shows that spend an entire episode flashing back to remind you of everything you already watched? Chronicles is kind of like that, but with a lot more genealogy. It's the last book in the Hebrew Bible, and instead of moving the story forward, it rewinds all the way back to Adam. Yes, Adam from Genesis, not me. It's like Netflix autoplaying season 1 when you're already on season 6. Chronicles kicks off with family trees. Lots of them. We're talking phone book level detail here. It feels like the ancient version of scrolling through Ancestry.com results, except without the awkward surprise about your great-uncle who vanished to Florida. Names pile on like the credits of a Marvel movie. Why so many lists? Well, the chronicler, whoever he was, wanted to establish continuity. After all, the Jewish people had just gone through exile in Babylon, and questions of identity and legitimacy mattered big time. Think of it like someone rebooting a franchise, Marvel explaining how all the superheroes are connected, or Star Wars putting out prequels. These genealogies were a way of saying, yes, we still belong here. Yes, our roots go back to Adam, Abraham, Jacob, and David. And yes, despite exile, we are still the chosen people with a story to tell. For the audience of the time, that was more than trivia. It was reassurance, like a DNA test confirming your membership in a massive spiritual family. Once we get through the Who Begat Whom marathon, the chronicler dives into stories about King David. But here's the twist. Chronicles presents a super polished, squeaky clean version of David. If you read Samuel and Kings, David comes across as brilliant but complicated. Think Shakespeare's Hamlet with a harp. He commits adultery with Bathsheba, has her husband killed, deals with family drama that would make the Kardashians blush. But in Chronicles, not a word about Bathsheba, not a whisper about palace scandals. Instead, David is portrayed as the ultimate worship leader, the guy who organizes choirs, plans the temple, and composes hit songs for God. It's like comparing TMZ to an official White House biography. One source spills the dirt, the other polishes the halo. Chronicles isn't lying, it's just curating. The chronicler wanted to show David as the ideal model of devotion, someone whose main concern was worship, music, and preparing the way for God's house. That leads us to Solomon, David's son, who gets a similarly glowing edit in Chronicles. In Kings, Solomon is complicated. Wise? Yes, but also prone to political marriages, heavy taxes, and the occasional idol-worshipping scandal. Chronicles focuses on his greatest hit, the building of the temple in Jerusalem. Imagine HGTV's Extreme Temple Makeover. The chronicler practically gushes over the gold, the artistry, the dedication ceremony, the music. It's clear the temple isn't just a building, it's the spiritual center of Jewish life. In exile, the temple had been destroyed, so this retelling was nostalgic and aspirational at the same time. It's like showing reruns of your team winning the Super Bowl after they've had a losing season. It stirs pride, hope, and longing for restoration. For Jews returning from exile, this wasn't just history. It was motivation to rebuild, reconnect, and recenter their identity around God's house. Here's where Chronicles really feels like a remix. When you read Kings, you get a roller coaster of good kings and bad kings in Judah and Israel. Chronicles, however, hits pause on Israel almost completely and focuses almost entirely on Judah, the southern kingdom centered on Jerusalem. Why? Because the chronicler cared about continuity with David, the temple, and proper worship. Chronicles highlights the good kings, Hezekiah, Josiah, and glosses over or shortens the reigns of the bad ones. If Kings was gritty, Chronicles is glossy. It's like comparing a behind-the-scenes documentary to a highlight reel. The chronicler wasn't writing objective journalism. He was shaping memory, telling the people, this is who we are, and this is who we should be again. In a way, it's the Bible's version of inspirational propaganda, but in a positive sense. like a pep talk reminding a team that, despite setbacks, their best days are still ahead.
Well, the holidays have come and gone once again, but if you've forgotten to get that special someone in your life a gift, well, Mint Mobile is extending their holiday offer of half off unlimited wireless. So here's the idea. You get it now, you call it an early present for next year. What do you have to lose? Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Limited time 50% off regular price for new customers. Upfront payment required. $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan. Taxes and fees extra. Speeds may slow after 50 gigabytes per month when network is busy. See terms.
One standout in Chronicles is King Hezekiah. He's portrayed as the guy who throws the ultimate Passover party. After years of neglect, he reinstates temple worship, cleanses out the spiritual cobwebs, and invites everyone, north and south, to join in the celebration. Picture a giant spiritual block party, complete with music, sacrifices, and lots of unleavened bread. Josiah also gets a hero's spotlight for rediscovering the Torah scroll and leading sweeping reforms. In both cases, Chronicles celebrates leaders who point people back to God through worship and Torah. It's almost like the chronicler is saying, here's your model. Leaders who restore faith, who bring people together, who make God the center again. These glowing portraits aren't just history lessons. They're sermons in narrative form, crafted to inspire Jews who had just returned from exile to roll up their sleeves and rebuild both physically and spiritually. Chronicles doesn't shy away from ending on a hopeful note either. While Kings ends with the destruction of Jerusalem and the depressing image of Judah in exile, Chronicles fast-forwards to the decree of Cyrus, king of Persia. Cyrus tells the Jews they can go home, rebuild Jerusalem, and restore the temple. Talk about a cliffhanger ending. Chronicles closes right when the next chapter of Jewish life is about to begin. It's like ending a movie with a teaser for the sequel. By stopping there, the chronicler makes the story not about despair, but about renewal. The message is loud and clear. The exile wasn't the end. God's promises still stand, and the people still have a mission. Imagine binge-watching a series that ends with a hopeful "to be continued" instead of a downer finale. That's the vibe. It's optimism, resilience, and faith rolled into one closing line. So, why should we care about Chronicles today? Well, first, it shows how communities retell their stories depending on their needs. When life is messy, sometimes you want the gritty realism of Kings. But when you need hope, you turn to Chronicles for the polished version. It's like listening to a live recording versus a studio album. Both are valuable, but they serve different moods. Chronicles also reminds us of the power of memory. How we frame our past shapes our future. Do we focus on failures or on potential? Do we see ourselves as broken or as people with a chance to rebuild? For Jews returning from exile, the chronicler's narrative was like a motivational podcast episode, reminding them they weren't defined by loss but by covenant, worship, and promise. That message still resonates. Our stories matter, and how we tell them can either drag us down or lift us up. Another interesting thing about Chronicles is how much it values worship, music, and ritual. The chronicler spends huge amounts of time describing choirs, instruments, priests, and Levites. If Spotify existed back then, Chronicles would have had an entire playlist dedicated to temple jams. This emphasis shows how central music and ritual were to Jewish identity. When the world feels shaky, rituals provide rhythm, music gives joy, and worship gives meaning. It's a reminder that spirituality isn't just about beliefs. It's also about practices that anchor us. Today, whether it's lighting Shabbat candles, singing at synagogue, or just blasting your favorite Jewish song on YouTube, the same principle applies. Rituals remind us who we are, connect us to others, and give us a sense of place in a bigger story. Chronicles may feel ancient, but its heartbeat, community, music, worship is as relevant now as it was 2,500 years ago. And that's the Book of Chronicles, folks. Less gossip, more glory. Less mess, more music. It's the Bible's grand highlight reel, retold to lift spirits and rekindle hope. Think of it as the ultimate recap, reminding Jews who they were and who they could be again. Whether you read it as history, inspiration, or just the Bible's version of a best-of playlist, Chronicles shows us that storytelling shapes identity tenas, and identity shapes destiny. And with that, we'll wrap it up. Thanks so much for listening to Everything Jewish 10 minutes at a time. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend who might like it too, or leave a positive review so more people can find the podcast. Until next time, keep celebrating, keep questioning, and keep telling your stories. They matter more than you think.